Hello, and welcome to Chess Book Reviews 93, in which we take a light-hearted look at Chess Book Reviews 93. Today I want to look at 5 books. The first of these was published about 60 odd years ago, and it's really brilliant. Chess Treasury of the Air by Terence Tiller. This grew out, I think, of the BBC radio. They had some strong players on, and they invited them to play a game. And one of them, it's unbelievable, was Bobby Fischer. Since that time, this book has, like a rolling stone, gathered no moss. Here, an example is a Simmel game. John Littlewood versus Gligorich. Well, best games, some Olympian moments. So from the World Team Championships. Personalities of modern chess. They're right up about Golombek. There we are. When a buzz bomb descended in Kent and wiped out the entire Menchik family. Yes, well, I'm afraid it wasn't in Kent, but it was in London, but it was dreadfully sad. A profile of Nimzovich. In the early days of the years of the century, around 1906 and 1907, 2 young chess masters were breaking their way into the international arena. Aron Nimzovich of Riga and somebody whose name I cannot pronounce Przepiorka. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that, of Warsaw in Poland. And it said underneath they were both Jewish. There's something here which was reprinted in Irving Chernev's book. And it is writers who have changed chess history. So you can read it here too. Profile of Lasker, Staunton, and finally, Ancient and Modern, an article by Hugh Alexander, Theo D. Alexander, which begins, as in all games, one of the perennially fascinating and unanswerable questions is whether the giants of the past, Anderson, Morphy, Lasker, Capablanca, Alekhine, could be overcome the great masters of the present. And he proposes to look into this and to find out. Players talking about their worst mistakes. Yes, Leonard Barden talking about his favourite game also against William Weaver Adams, as John Upham never tires of telling me that I told him, a bicarbonate of soda addict, a one-time friend of Al Capone. I'll be setting that to music in a minute. So there you are. Gerald Abraham's my favourite game. It was against Edmund Spencer. Sportsmanship and Gamesmanship in Chess by Gerald Abrahams again. Cheating in Chess. By Frank Roden, who was the Hastings organizer, wasn't he? One of the big wheels of the 1960s. 50s and 60s, I suppose. Really brilliant stuff in here. Here is a game, a King's Gambit from Aberystwyth, the Women's Championships. I'm not sure I know who the two players were, which I would like to know, but it doesn't say. No, it doesn't say. Black won in a King's Gambit. Never mind. Lots of nostalgia and instruction. A really nice book. The next one is from a similar era. They reprinted it. I think it was a children's book, but they've. It's by Bottomorris, who wrote the Chess for Children and More Chess for Children, and it's got some nice. It's got some nice positions to mull over. Checkmate in the middle game. The production standard is not too high in these books. It's a sphere. Raymond Bott and Stanley Morrison have established a very considerable reputation as authors and many highly successful chess books. I don't know about many. They have written odds things, haven't they? This book is from 1973 and is a reprint of an original from 1967. A wonderful year. Shows you how to set the pieces up, the ranks and the files, which I think is all useful stuff, isn't it? In case you're wondering, shows you when you can and can't castle and how the pieces move. There we are. Which might bring back some memories for those who learnt a long time ago and haven't played since. Shows some checkmates, some simple checkmates. 2 bishops, 1 bishop, 1 bishop. And how to maintain a draw even when you're a pawn down. I didn't work this out. I had a game against a friend of mine, Barry Coken, and he managed to draw it. And after the game, I was pretty shamefaced. I played him again in a tournament down in Exeter, and once again, I thought I was winning, and he managed to pull it out of the fire. Very small diagrams. I'm not sure these will come out at all, but there you are. Owen Hindle playing against Michael Franklin. And the rook on the 7th. There's a game against, I haven't seen him for a while, David Levens, who's still with us. E.G. Levens. And he enjoys a lot more than just chess, and he's been successful as an author. He's also a tennis coach, he tells me. But that's the same as an umpire. Probably isn't, is it? The moves are written down in long form algebraic. I never see the point of that, but you see what I mean? It says the square that comes from E2, and then the square is going to E4. So there you are. Yeah. There's a game here by Ian Bell, National Boys Club champion, against one of his opponents in that tournament. Doesn't even say his name. A Wetbread versus M. Biggs. I think Wetbread did become, certainly, in certain circles, well known. And there's a game here by K.B. Harmon. I actually sent a copy of this book to K.B. Harmon. And he sent a message back saying, I don't know why you sent it to me. Well, there you are. It was played 60 years ago. And there we are. And there's a game between Benko and Nydorf from Los Angeles. Two very charming and travelling gentlemen. And Petrosian and Spassky, and so on. For a small book, it packs in a lot, I think. There it is. If you see it around, give it your time. The next is a much newer effort, but not new at all. In other words, it's middle-aged. Why You Lose at Chess. There are other books called this, with this title, but this is the most recent, and it's also a good one. And this is a Dover reprint from 2001. It's reprinted from an earlier Batsford by Tim Harding. You must stop playing badly to help you make from making the same mistakes over and over again. The newly updated Chess Classic shows how to learn from your losses. Expert analysis of every stage of the game to demonstrate that blunders occur at all levels of play. Harding profiles his own most instructive loss. And he even shows Gary Kasparov playing IBM's chess-playing supercomputer, all in one word, Deep Blue. It's a rather nice format. I didn't even know this was here. It's a supplement. This is the computer. Kasparov playing Deep Blue 2. Why You Lose at Correspondence Chess. Probably that's because the opponent cheats. I shouldn't say that's dreadfully cynical, isn't it, of me? Different types of diagrams, different design. That's not Tim's fault, but they are, I think. Maybe not. No, maybe not, actually. Why You Lose in the Opening. Playing an opening unsuited to one's style, temperament, and mood. Playing an opening that is ideally suited to your opponent. Playing an opening learned by rote and not really understood. Playing an opening without knowledge of the middle game that follows from it. Playing an opening that is positionally unsound. The cert goes on. This is more like a lecture, but Tim is worthy of far more than that, and you will see in this book some depths. I always try and rate his stuff. Why You Lose in the Opening, as I said. Why You Lose Material. This is Tim at his most sort of teacherly. Game between Courtney and Wade and George Botterill and Ulf Anderson. There you are. As I say, don't get it if you've got the bats already. Although you may prefer this one, in which case at least give it your time. The next one was published by Chess Sutton Coldfield, which isn't there anymore. But Mr. Eales, as the author, is there anymore, and this is about his university. And is part of the B.H. Woods Chess for Modern Times series. It's in descriptive notation, which some people won't like, but it is nevertheless in descriptive notation, and it contains some reprints from their magazine Dragon. I sent in some dragons myself, and also some games played by the heroes of the hour: Hartston and Keane, Gunnar Sugden, Ray Keane playing against Jonathan Penrose, a game which has been reproduced just so many times it's painful, but there we are. I'm sure it's a good game, but I think it perhaps could be treated to something else. The Cambridge Opening. Club matches, playing against Glasgow, Islington, Brighton, Oxford, and the Athenaeum. Here's a nice game. Milner Barry versus Alexander. Possibly even a friendly, but they took these things very much to heart. Of course, you couldn't play online in those days. Look. Yeah. You couldn't play online those days, and it's a Vienna. And it's got, let's see how many games. 64 games. How appropriate. Lots of Sicilians, I've little doubt. Well, one at least, anyway. The emphasis in this book is firmly on the last 10 years, the most successful period of Cambridge chess. Fair enough. And there is the distinctive Chess Sutton Coldfield logo. And finally, in our small book series, an introduction by Arthur Koestler, The Times, over 50 years ago now, the World Chess Championships, Fischer versus Spassky. This first-hand account of the most important, exciting World Championship match in the history of chess. I agree with that. The natural drama surrounding the contest has been heightened by the controversial clash of personalities. This book was 50p. I don't suppose it is now. It's a Times newspaper limited. In other words, they've taken Harry's articles and reproduced them. It was written sometime after the match, because it was first published in 1973, so the players would have you can tell it's written by Harry because it's got words like ignoble in it. It was the most colossal anticlimax of the most colossal match of our colossal times. Programming a computer for playing chess. His work was taken up by the leading mathematical logician You know what's coming next, don't you? A.M. Turing. Alan Turing. In the absence of a long overdue scientific Esperanto, the Middle Ages were more progressive in this respect. They had Latin. The obvious answer would be an electronic translating machine, but so far all attempts to build such a machines have proved grossly inadequate. Not so now. This introduction is by Arthur Koestler and not by Harry Golombek. I was lying through my teeth on what few teeth I've got left. At the chess club at St. James's Street, Mr. Philidor, a famous 18th century player, performed one of the wonderful exhibitions for which he is much celebrated. He played at the same time 3 different games. I think what he means is simultaneously played 3 games of chess, blindfold chess, as one of the greatest exertions of which the human memory is capable. Except if you go shopping for your mother and she shouts back, "Did you get some sugar?" So, "Oh, sorry, I forgot." A prelude to the match. Of course, there was a great deal of comings and goings by Bobby. In fact, it was a minor miracle he got there at all. In London, millionaire, businessman and chess fan Jim Slater, animated by the sincere and earnest desire to ensure that the match should take place, offered to give an extra sum to the prize fund that practically doubled it. I was in Saga Hotel when the Russians were living, on the evening of the flight. Boris Spassky came in playing tennis outside whilst I was talking to Grandmaster Janasevich, who's reported back to Yugoslavia on the match, told us that Bobby was on his way by air. As far as possible, Bobby's whereabouts have been kept secret from the press. That's true. They gave him a house out in the Icelandic countryside. Before getting to the play, we must meet the players and avoid questions of precedence and protocol. Let us do it in alphabetical order. Robert James Fisher was born in Chicago. His mother, whose maiden name was Winder, yes it was a Swiss of Jewish descent. Rather unusual wording. Was a Swiss of German descent, of Jewish descent. Yeah. Chapters, of course, which have been written ever. And here are the games. Not very nice. Not very well printed, I don't think. What do you think to that? They could have used the commentary, I'm sure, is adequate, but in the introductions, flowery, and Golombek was on the spot, but the moves should be double strike, bold, emboldened, and then what? Game 10, the first Ruy Lopez of the match. Yes, well. Oh, I think that the commentary is more than adequate. I assume the patronage of the Times is because they used Harry, who would have written about the games every day, or nearly every day, used his columns. Bobby plays the Perk. Spassky plays the Sicilian. Bobby plays the Alekhine. Bobby obviously kept him thinking and guessing, didn't he? A variety of openings. So there we are. There was no doubt that the better player won. Spassky was out of form for some time, but even had at his peak of his form, I think Fischer would have still have won. So do I, but it was a good match. And there we are. He is thus supremely well qualified, that's Harry, to describe and annotate the games which are enormous interest and value to all chess enthusiasts. There it is again. And here I end. So I hope you've enjoyed Little Books. This is a new YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. The old chinwags are still available, but I can't access them anymore. So please resubscribe and like. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Mm-hmm.